Hello, everyone, and welcome to session one of the Demonplague. My name is James Introcaso. I go by he, him, and we are here to play some awesome Dungeons and Dragons. So, what is the Demonplague? Well, it's a level 1 through 20 adventure that was kicked off earlier this year. You can pre-order it now at roleplayingtips.com/demonplague, and prices are about to increase, so don't wait. But let's get right down to it. Let's meet this amazing crew of players we have. Tell us who you are, give us your pronouns, tell us where people might know you from, and let us know who you are playing. Rudy Basso, let's start with you.
Hi, my name is Rudy Basso. I'm also he, him. I am one of the co-owners of the Don't Split the Podcast Network. I have a couple podcasts on said network. I co-host DSPN Presents, which is a grab bag of APs and other industry things. I have the soon-ending Have Spellbook Will Travel, which is an audio drama, completely scripted. I've got voice actors, sound effects, music. You should go back and listen to all of that. And I'm so excited to be on this stream in this game. I am playing Rain Bowie. That's Rayne Bowie. He is a human monk. He was a hermit, I should say. He used to live in the woods in a shack, but the climate changes have caused his shack to be flooded, which has caused him to then go into the nearest town, which, James, I think you're going to tell us all about that in a moment. And that is where he takes up residence as a prize fighter slash bouncer slash bodyguard, putting those monk abilities to use.
A true pugilist.
Oh,
yes.
very much so.
Super excited to have you on here, Rudy. Also super excited to have you on. Lauren, who are you? What might people know you from, and who are you playing?
Hi, I'm Lauren. I go by Obo Crazy. I am the community manager for D&D Beyond. And yes, you now have the theme song in your head. You're welcome. I'm also the DM for Dungeon Drunks, which is a podcast which has been going on for multiple years, and you can find that on all podcasting devices. I am also the DM for Clerical Error, which just started last week on the Wizards of the Coast D&D channel, which we're also on right now. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
So when I'm not doing all that D&D stuff, I am also a professional classical musician, which is why I go by Obo Crazy. And you can hear me playing in the greater Seattle area, including upcoming performances of Dracula the Ballet. Yep, that's Dracula the Ballet. And today, and for this campaign, Until I Die, I will be playing Rock, the Aarakocra rogue, who she was in a tiny little town along the spine of the world in a group of Aarakocra who were protecting one of those places in the world and where the veil between worlds is thin and the plane of air and the material plane coalesce. She was super bored with that because that was boring. There was nothing to do and nothing ever happened. So she ran away with the circus. And eventually, because stuff happened in the world, the circus got destroyed, and so now she's in Tomar's Crossing, and we'll see what happens from there.
Excellent. Well, it's awesome to have you here, Lauren, as I said, and also awesome to have you, TK Johnson. TK, tell the people who you are and who you're playing.
It's me. It's TK. I go by they, them. You know me from, I guess, Hell's Bells on Sunday nights, playing my fancy Prince Boy, Gil. You know me from WebDM on Wednesdays and Thursdays with their Invisible Sun RPG and their Dark Sun inspired RPGs. And those are fun. And if you like spooky stories, you might also know my spooky stories. Today I am playing Isabel Halfback, who is a half-orc. She is a retired town guard, and she has decided to live in Tomar's Crossing with her son and his wife. And she is now trying to make a name for herself as the town matchmaker and busybody. She is your favorite aunt.
Yes, yes. And when we say matchmaker, we do not mean person who makes fire-starting matches. We mean person who helps find a love connection.
Love, a love connection.
Find me fine, catch me a cat. There, I won't sing it anymore.
I think it's probably the theme song for TK's character. And Robert, who are you, and who are you playing?
Hi, I'm Robert Adducci. My pronouns are he, him. I have been community manager for Adventures League for a while, from up until just last year. I'm also a DM's Guild guild adept, along with James. And I do community management for Fantasy Grounds and Alligator Alley Entertainment, which is Esper Genesis 5e. I've also done some writing for Kobold Press, Schwab Entertainment, and USC North America for their new Wrath and Glory game. I am playing. I'm playing Torsten Ailhand. He is a young wizard. He is a local to Tomar's Crossing, where we'll be starting, and he is just sort of like your your almost classic wizard apprentice. He's young. He's sort of full of energy for life, and he wants everybody to sort of get along. He follows Eldath, which is sort of a very very peaceful religion. So we'll see how his religious views kind of hold up during this troubled times. But he helps his father. He's made like ale with his father for his innkeeping business. And so he kind of knows a lot of the people around Tomar's Crossing and the region. So he's interested in helping everyone.
Well, it is excellent to have you all here. I'm really excited about this group of players. One other thing I want to mention before we start is that something very special is going to happen if me or one of the players rolls a natural 20. So let's be sure to track those, because at the end of all of this, the number of natural 20s rolled will be the numbers of my DM's Guild Adventure Sailor of Death that we give away at the end of the episode, so stick around. So, to begin with, our story takes place in the Forgotten Realms, in a new area that I've dubbed the Luna Valley. It's the default setting for the Demonplague, and quick plug, it can be dropped into any setting. The Ice Tongue Glacier... That's right. And that is the end of the plugs. The Ice Tongue Glacier, which sat in the Luna Valley for over 1,000 years, was just above the spine of the world. Diverse settlements of humans, elves, dwarves, halflings, and other ancestries dotted the unmoving glacier near the sea of moving ice. The people of the valley, they hunted, they fished, they trapped, and they traded with one another, and they would also brave the sea of moving ice to trade with other cities on the Sword Coast. Occasionally, a treasure hunter or adventurer might come in to dig down into the ice and get into the ruins that were locked beneath it from civilizations that were there before the glacier. But for the most part, life in the valley was cold and it was hard living, but it was pretty mundane. Then the comet came. This comet lit up the night sky like 1,000 brilliant fireworks and slammed into the valley, causing massive earthquakes, and it broke apart the glacier. Then the immense heat from the comet caused melting, and within a few days, many of the villages were washed away, buried in mudslides, or sent out to sea. Even Safe Harbor, the valley's largest settlement, didn't survive the onslaught. Those few people who were lucky enough to make it out with their lives had to contend with creatures that took advantage of the situation. Goblinoids, bandits, starving animals. To make matters worse, the comet's impact had uncovered numerous ruins that were locked beneath the ice, and the undead and immortal guardians within now stalk the mud-soaked valley. One fortunate town did survive the melt. That's the town of Tomar's Crossing, where all of you are now. It's a village that used to have about 150 folks, and it was built on a mountain that poked through the top of the glacier. Now there are refugee survivors from other settlements that have gathered outside the town for protection. Many of the villagers that live there gave what food they could spare to these refugees, but now the cupboards are bare. People are restless and in shock, and no one can agree on the best course of action for the survivors of the melt. Oh, yeah, and it's an election year in Tomar's Crossing. There are 4 seats on the village council that are currently anyone's game. But there are still 4 incumbents currently sitting in those seats. To start with, you are all at the Ale House Inn. It is an inn that is run by the family of Robert's character. So, Robert, tell me a little bit about the Ale House Inn. What does it look like?
Sure. So the Ale House Inn is, a 2-story inn. The bottom is primarily, tavern and common room where people eat and whatnot. It's run by my parents, Gorston and Moira. They and then my brother and sister also run it. And then I've got more family kind of around Tomar's Crossing. And then the second story is, rooms. There's some shared rooms and some singular rooms as well. But it's probably a pretty good size building for this small community.
Awesome. That's awesome. And what are you doing right now? It's getting on towards evening time right now. The evening rush is about to be in. What are you doing in the ale house?
So I kind of Torsten doesn't really like to kind of work in the front of the house. He's a little shy about that stuff, but he does like to kind of be in the back, and he'll occasionally peek out, but he is probably working on the next batch of ale.
Excellent. And Rudy, what is Rain doing?
So Rain works as a bouncer at this ale house. And so what time of day is it, James?
It's getting on towards the evening, so probably dusk, sun setting.
Yeah, so I'm set up in front of... what's the drinking age here, James?
It's like 18.
Sure, I'll eyeball it. I think it's kind of loosey-goosey here.
Probably.
So just kind of eyeball, making sure no little ones are trying to get in to drink and cause problems. So I'm just... There's no IDs, but I'm keeping an eye out, and I'm ready to jump inside if there's anything. Keep my eye on everyone, you know what I mean? Mentally logging all the customers as they come in.
Excellent. So, Isabel, what are you doing?
Well, Isabel has been there for hours, basically handing out all of these little hand calligraphied flyers that she has made herself as invitations to visit her office, which is on the other side of the square, for a personal consultation, which is free unless you choose to take on her services. So she has a large stack. She's been there for several hours, like writing it out and everything. And as people are coming in past Rain, who is the bouncer, she's just sort of surreptitiously handing them a flyer as they come in, like, yes, please enjoy your evening, please, and don't forget to look for me, please.
I think at the moment, given the disaster that's happened, people are turning to you a little bit, Isabel, as a nice sort of distraction. Some people may seem even desperate to find someone to connect with, given how crazy the situation is in the valley. So you're probably have several people sort of sitting around trying to ask you more questions about, how eligible your various prospects are and that sort of thing.
Only the finest and the most conscientious of wives await you. Please, I have personally done an interview for each of the young women who are just so needful of somebody to protect them, somebody to guide them into the next step of their lives. It's such a dangerous world out here. Nice. And she's just like rubbing people's backs of their hands and their wrists and please
and many
let
people...
me take care of you tonight.
Many people seem comforted by that. Those that sort of want to talk to you. Those that don't are very brusque. But there's enough people around that you're able to get to know people. What is Rock up to, Lauren?
Rock is doing kind of the same thing that Rain is doing, except she's inside the bar, excited about the next night worth of stuff that might happen. She entered the bar. She took one of those flyers that Isabel handed out and was just like, "Oh, thank you, thank you." And went off to kind of her corner to perch and is just eating and is intently watching who's coming in, who's drinking too much, and who is chatting about finding a mate, because this is not something that she's used to. She doesn't know anything about the mating rituals between these humanoids. This seems fascinating to her. And also those interactions are helping her kind of learn more about the people around her. So she is intently people watching. And unlike when like normal people watch and then they catch you and then you look away because, oh, I got caught, like she just like dead eye stares at you. So she's been looking at you, like people are finishing up grabbing the flyer and talking about, services and everything, and they turn around, they find Rock just like
yeah, there's a halfling woman who is asking Isabel about matches for her daughter, and she turns around and she gives like a little bit of a like a one of those, and then sort of just awkwardly edges by you to get to where you're going. And I can only imagine that your bird head sort of follows them in like that stare that birds often do.
Yeah, she's learned to open up her beak a little bit in like an approximation of a smile that seems to like put humanoids who have a mouth at edge. So she's just like
That's so good. So first, everybody should get inspiration to kick things off, right? This way, when I kill you all later, you'll remember how kind I was. And Rudy, Rain is at the door, and you can see coming down probably the most well-known figure in Tomar's Crossing, the village master. He is the current head of the village council. His name is Bajalin Viadis. And he is flanked by two burly half-orcs. And he is making a beeline right towards the alehouse inn. And he is, he's an older gentleman in his late 50s, but he was clearly a capable individual in combat. He was a hunter for a long time before he became the village master. And like the sort of word around town is that he's managed to use his position to have a lot of influence with the people of Tomar's Crossing. Some people love him because he has managed to do some really good things for the town. Some people hate him. Right now, no one wants to be him because he's basically dealing with a lot of stuff as far as the fallout from the melt goes. And he comes in, he sort of brushes right by you, and then comes back and like looks you up and down, and says, come in, and like then walks by you, indicating you should follow him.
Okay, what is his stance on underground fighting pits again, James? This is important to me.
He would probably be pro.
Okay, I follow him inside.
And then when he comes in, he starts. So you all see this figure now enter, and Robert, while you're in the back, you can hear like people come in and they're like, "Oh, Bajalin's here," and you hear him say, "Torsten, come out here, Torsten."
All right. I'll come out, wearing this apron, kind of brushing my hands off of it.
Okay, and you can see, you've lived in Tomar's Crossing the longest of any of the four of you. You can have whatever opinion you like of Bajalin. Let's have this interaction, and then you can tell me what you think your sort of family history with him is.
Okay.
He points then at Rock, and he points at Ezobel, and he says, stay, everybody else get out of here. And the half-orcs start like shuffling everybody along outside, and everybody seems to take to this. And he says, don't worry, the bar will be open in I only need a few minutes with these people, but I need time alone. And they sort of all get shuffled out.
Can they take their food? Some were eating.
And he looks at you. Make a persuasion check, Rock.
Okay. First roll of the game, guys. No.
Here we go.
Oh.
Yeah, persuasion. I'm really bad at this, guys. That'd be a 10.
Okay. Yeah, so he just sort of scowls at you, and he says, if they want their food, they can take it. But most of the people at this point are out, and it doesn't look like he's going to let anybody back in.
Okay.
And you see a few people nod grateful thanks to you as they sort of grab food on the way, or reach a hand back to grab something as they're going. And as that is happening, he sits down at a table. One of the half-orcs pulls out a chair. He sits in the chair, and he invites all of you to sit with him. And he says, this is about work, paid work. Hard to come by these days. Won't you all have a seat?
Yay! Rock sits.
Excited. Wait till everybody sits down, and then I'll sit down.
Okay, nice, excellent, excellent.
The true host.
Yeah. Ezabel makes a very annoyed show of like standing up, dusting herself off, piling up her papers, making sure everything's like nice and straight, and then like drags her chair over, sets it down, and then sits. It just forward and folds her hands on the table.
And there is a very visible eye roll from Bajalen at this, like, ugh. But he does not say anything.
Good.
And he says, I am in need of some help. As you know, things have been hard here lately, to put it mildly. We've got a lot of trouble, and right now I've got people out there scouting the land, looking for food sources, looking for clean water, anything that can help the people of Tomar's Crossing and the refugees gathered around us. But there's something else going on. I've gotten word that there are goblins holed up in Fort Frostfell, which is a fort 18 miles to the west of here. A big stone fort that has managed to survive the melt. It was overrun by goblins. And this group of goblins call themselves the Barrel Harb tribe. The Barrel Harb goblins have not just taken over Frostfell. They've been capturing people on the road, trying to make their way to Tomar's Crossing. A few people have gotten out alive from these scuffles with the goblins and have been managed to report back. It would be good to have the extra hands and the goods that the goblins have taken. I think it would do us very well to have those things. And seeing as I am short on people and knowing a little bit about each of you, prize fighter, matchmaker, but I know your history before this was a little bit more military, shall we say, a town guard, and certainly a bird person with the ability to do circus tricks, I suppose. Yes.
I is Aarakocra.
Aarakocra. Yes.
Close enough.
And you know, you look scary, so I think you could probably help us out. You look like a big monster bird. What are those called?
Rock, when she sits in the chair because it's got the high back, she's had to have her wings like just hanging out at her side anyway. And no one has ever called her big or scary before. And so, like on reflex, she just extends her wings and looks at her and goes, if you think so, but not usually. Very small, considered small for Aarakocra and small for. And she looks over at like the half orc and goes, "Sure, but I help. Absolutely, can do whatever you need."
And he says, "Well, I'm just for a bird. You're big. That's that's like most birds are small. You're big for a bird, but not for a person." Which you're also a person. Anyway, it's getting confusing for me.
Not for me.
One of the half orcs whispers in his ear, and he's like, "Yeah, let's move on." And he said, "Torsten, you're one of the only wizards we have. I think that your arcane prowess might be helpful on this mission." And he sort of begrudgingly says that about you, Torsten. And he says, "Here's what I'm offering. I can give you all 200 gold pieces if you free the people within Fort Frostfell and come back with the supplies. Now, I happen to learn that the leader of this goblin tribe is a hobgoblin named Dowerkeg. I will throw in another 50 gold pieces if you take Dowerkeg's head and parade around the town and tell people it was me who funded your expedition there. It is an election year, after all."
Do you need many heads for election year?
He laughs and thinks about it and says, "Well, we'll see how many more threats there are to Tomar's Crossing. But one would be great to start. So do we have a deal?"
How many votes you get for heads?
And he like raises his eye at that and he says, we don't have a head to vote ratio per se. We haven't really run the metrics on that. But this would be really the first time we've tested the theory, so we would have to get data afterwards.
We're collecting data.
Yeah, exactly. We'll need to do polling afterwards. So he like snaps to his half orcs and he's like, "Write that down. Write down. We're gonna do some polling after this.
Start with 1. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly."
Well, Jalen, while I'm happy to help out the people of Torsten's Crossing, and of course all of the refugees who've come in, I'm not sure if really bringing a hobgoblin head back is necessary. I'm sure we could maybe get them to stop raiding the road and release the people, but obviously if we need to protect ourselves we will, but I don't think we need to kill just because it will get you some votes.
He scowls at that and says, "Well, perhaps you could tell people upon your triumphant return without a head in your hand that I am pretty great and had the idea for this mission."
Is an ear acceptable instead of head? Because I don't mind cutting an ear off.
But do you have problem with head? The whole head? Is it just big? Too big? Okay.
Too big.
He turns around and like whispers with his half orcs and he says, "Both ears. We need both. But yes,
Fair.
ears are
Fair.
Yeah. Yes."
I just kind of look at Rain at that one and kind of shake my head a little bit.
I have questions. Very many. If we are to go on this mission for you, I did some back in my tribe, going on scouting, killing bad things, kind of thing. So you said 18 miles west. Is that walking, flying?
It's 18 miles whether you walk or fly. So it's because it's all mud out there now. So it's basically it's harder if you're not flying. And he looks at the people without wings and he's like, "But some of you don't have a choice." So
Okay. And you said 200 gold each? Total? Each? Total?
total.
Each?
Total.
Oh.
Total.
Okay. Okay. And how many goblin there?
He does a shrug and he says, honestly, I'm not sure. We haven't been able to get in the fort. We know there are at least reports coming back with 8, possibly more. I can't imagine they would leave the fort undefended.
You said there were people here who had escaped them. Can we talk to them? Get layout, get information, get knowledge before we go.
Yes. He nods and he says, there are forces, some refugees who have just come in from another place called Ice Song. You can talk with them. They just encountered them on the road and then tried to take Fort Frostfell themselves and failed to do so.
They will be good to talk with then.
18 miles is a long way. I think perhaps some horses should be given to us. Seems fair.
Make a persuasion check.
1.
Yay!
And he says, I hope you can find somebody willing to give you a horse. And pats you on the back.
So more questions. More. Why everything around here named ice and snow and frost? And there is no more ice and snow and frost. Should you not change the name of the town?
Yeah, James, why is that?
I mean, we used to have ice. Changing names hasn't really been at the top of our priority list. We've had a lot of other things to do. So, and the only town left is this one, Tomar's Crossing, which is really a weather-independent name. So,
This is true. Okay, I understand.
Any more questions? He looks like real pointedly at Rock. Anybody?
Okay, I was wondering. So you said the refugees from Ice Saw. Where are they? Where can we find them?
And he says they're outside of town to the north of town.
Any specific person we talk to?
He racks his brain like he's trying to think, and he sort of mumbles to himself like, I don't know any of their names. And then one of his half-orc advisors whispers in his ear, and he says, yes, Huberg Greyborn is the leader of their band. That's who you want to talk to. Huberg.
Does this hobgoblin have a ferocious reputation? Have I heard of him before?
Make a history check. Sure.
Yeah, what do I know about these goblins as well
16.
in general?
13?
16.
Okay, so yeah, you've actually heard of the Barrel Harb goblins and Dowerkeg before. Since you were a hermit before this, they were very, very small group of goblins that would occasionally maybe harass a lone merchant on the road who didn't take any protection with him or that sort of thing. The fact that they would have the chutzpah to go after a big fort is pretty a good indication of the change of the times. They were very small. They mostly stuck to themselves and hunted and that sort of thing, and that was really it. So they've gotten much bolder, if that's the case.
Since Fort Frostfell is more or less local, is there anything I know about it?
Yeah, you know that it is a fort that was started by an order called the Last Bastion Knights. And they this used to be their headquarters. Their headquarters eventually moved to Safe Harbor, which is a big city that was on the Sea of Moving Ice. And they have since left the Safe Harbor now, and they are now gathered around Tomar's Crossing, the Last Bastion Knights. But Fort Frostfell was sort of just an abandoned relic that people might go, kids might go play in and that sort of thing if they were out on the road. But it mostly just sat there and was a ruin for a long time.
And I think we should go speak with Greyborn.
Yeah.
And Bajalin says, well, if there's nothing else, I'll be on my way. And he says, you know where to find me.
Oh, no, I have more questions.
Oh, yes, yeah. He like sits back down like, oh, okay.
Yes. How are you doing?
Fine. Overworked right now. A little annoyed, stressed. How are you?
Oh, very good. Excited to have something to do. Yes, thank you for asking. And
Good,
then
good.
Rock will look next to her at probably at Isabel and be like, how are you doing? Are you okay with all this?
The whole time Isabel, like about mid-speech, Isabel was kind of like, okay, look. And so she went back to get her flyers while like still nodding like, yes. And she's like handed stacks of flyers out to his half-orc bodyguards. And she's like, oh yes, please give these to your mother and give these to your sisters. And she'll like, whenever Rock addresses her, she'll look over her shoulder like, oh, I would be so happy to assist the councilman in exchange for the gold promised and his ringing endorsement.
Oh.
And he says, well, I'm doing fine in that department, thank you. But you certainly can count on my endorsement.
Well, I'll see you at church, and I'm sure that I will see all of your female relatives as well.
Yes, of course we will. I can make arrangements for that. An endorsement for you, for an endorsement for me, of course. Running
Sure.
for the village council, you understand.
Of course, for the gold, yes.
Yes. And he nods. He
Yeah,
knows
that's what
what's
I thought.
he knows what this is about.
I mean, who knows what I could talk to people about at church?
That's true.
Otherwise.
Church things.
Yes, church things, of course. I don't even go to his church. I go to like Agma Second Baptist.
Good old First Church of Denier.
Yeah.
So,
So this whole conversation, does Rock get the sense that like this guy is holding anything back? The Bajalin is he being pretty straightforward, or are things a little iffy with him? Like, is he not telling us something?
go ahead and make an insight check.
Okay. Ooh, that's a 24.
Wow.
I
Okay.
rolled a 17. That I'm good at.
You're great at reading people, just not interacting with them. So you get the feeling like he's making no bones about it. You get the feeling he cares more about the supplies than he does actually rescuing the people. You get the feeling too that when he says he's doing fine in that department, he almost feels like he's being insulted about his love life, and that as far as it's known, he's single. Like, he's not married, he never has been, and he doesn't have any partners that anyone knows of. So you get the feeling that like he said that, and maybe that was something he should not have said, and he's regretting it almost. Yeah.
Oh, well, we will go rescue people, and maybe one of them will be someone that you want to shack up with.
And he says, okay, we're done here. And he gets up and he says, I'll be in here every night for the next 10 days. When you come back, we can settle up. And then he leaves, and people begin to pour back into the tavern right after he exits. Sort of the door swings back open, and people start.
Rock will look at everybody around the table and be like, was that I learned that in the circus. It's shack up with, right? Is find a
right
mate.
term. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay. I used the right term, right? Okay.
You sure did.
You did phenomenally. You did
Thank you.
such a good job. Here, take
I'm-
this flyer.
I already have 4, but I'll take another. Thank
Oh,
you.
yes. Give them to your friends or people who you would like to be your friends.
And she'll immediately hand them to the people around the table and be like, okay, hi, there's your
Isabel's
go.
cool with it. She's like, oh, this is not what I meant, but
Yeah,
better than you throwing it away.
Rain and Torsen, she'll immediately hand to out and be like, well, now we're friends, right?
Sure.
Sure,
Yes.
of course we are.
It's so much easier here than in the tribe.
Uh,
So I just sort of, as the village master leaves, I just kind of roll my eyes a bit. He is, he seems to always kind of be more or less in it for himself. He, like you said, he likes to kind of have the power. He's probably done this before, kind of come in here and just like ask everybody to leave to talk to people. And obviously it annoys us because it costs us a little bit of money. And so, but he seems to, have the best interest of the town for the most part in his mind. So he's been fine. But I think that Torsten's probably kind of coming to the realizations that maybe when he was younger he probably looked up to him a bit, but now as he's getting older and kind of becomes more aware of the situation as a whole, he's kind of like, we could probably do better.
Excellent. Yeah. So yeah, you've probably started to see, right? It's like when you're a little kid, the office of president seems like the coolest thing in the world, and then you start to learn like, oh, they're just people, and some of them are corrupt and some of them are not, and politicians can be bad or whatever. So yeah, that shine has started to come off, and again, you and probably Isabel, because you've been here for several years now too, he seems to get whatever he wants despite having a less than winning personality and a less than winning ethical code. So that is as people start to pour in, you are all still at that table, you're exchanging flyers, and two other people come and sit down. And you know these as two of the other council members, a woman named Pauline Sandalwood, who is an older human, and she has a green thumb. She is known to be a druid around town, and in fact still has one of the only functional gardens outside of her house with the climate change that has happened. And a woman named Kadra Tourmaline. Kadra is in her late 20s, and is the exact opposite of Bajalin. Everybody loves her. She has a super winning personality, and is always sort of fighting for the little person. So they both sit down. They were not in the restaurant before, or in the tavern before this started. So Pauline sits down and she says, well, it seems like you were meeting with Bajalin. Is that right?
Yeah, he wants us to go look into these goblins that have stolen some supplies and are troubling people along the roads.
And Kadra gives a big smile, and Pauline says, oh, that was Kadra's idea. She thought that those people might need some rescuing. And Kadra says, and I also thought there might be supplies there that we could use to feed people. Most of the villagers and a lot of the people outside our village are starving. We need all of the food we can get our hands on right now.
Well, we are happy to help. We're gonna kill some goblins. We're gonna find a head and some ears and do a parade.
And Pauline says, oh, parade, probably for Bajalin, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, he wanted us to make sure that everybody knew it was his idea, but I'm sure people would be just as happy just to get the supplies.
It could be someone else's idea too, for the right amount of gold.
You sell ideas for gold?
When
Yes.
when you say that, Pauline like arches her eyebrow and looks at Kadra, and Kadra just shakes her head. And you're getting the feeling, Rock, that like Kadra does not want to go up against Bajalin. She has no desire to go up against him. So they look at each other for a moment, and Pauline says, well, if you're going out there anyway, I'm wondering if you might do me a favor.
Okay.
What kind of favor?
Yeah. Okay.
Well, yes, details would be good, but yes, sure.
The order.
She reaches into her robe and takes a dead rat out and puts it on the table.
Hey, we're in the tavern here.
And
How fresh? Wait, you said dead. How fresh is this thing?
It looks like it's been dead for a long time.
Oh.
Like years.
Yeah, I was about to say that Isabel's got like her mom hand ready to like smack.
Yeah.
Grabs for it.
If this
And
was
she,
like an
she
hour or
holds up-
two, but no.
At Isabel and at Torsten, she holds up her hand and she says, wait for it. And then the rat gets up off of its side and starts like chittering around and moving. And she says, these zombie rats are all over the valley now. And I need a few more for my studies. And then she picks it back up and puts it back into her coat. She says, if you bring me some, I'd be very grateful.
Zombie rats. Goodness, that looks horrible.
That smells so bad. You carry that around in your pocket with you?
Well, you know, all of our insides smell bad. Just some of us have outsides that smell bad too.
Yes, but only zombies have insides that are on the outside.
Well, not just zombies. Some flesh golems. There are
Smell bad?
certainly some fiends that could have their outside. Oh, yes, they all
Smell bad?
smell bad. Smell bad for sure.
You don't smell bad.
Yeah. Isabel like audibly moves her chair, like scrapes it along the the rocks away from Pauline, just like
And Pauline looks at all of you, and she then reaches into the other side of her robe and pulls out 4 potions. And puts them on the table and says, here you go, 4 potions of healing,
Hey.
1 for each of you. Now, if you bring me back zombie rats, I will have more where that came from.
I reach down for the potion. I kind of pick it up and open it, smell it, and swirl it around in there, and just nod my head and I say, yes, for a potion, definitely. I say, have you heard from my mentor at all? Have you heard from what was her name now? Have you heard from Callus at all?
Yes.
Heard from her since all of the melting and everything.
Yeah, so Pauline, Callus being who was a druid who was also a wizard, definitely got along with Pauline. And Pauline sort of sadly shakes her head and says, the last I heard, she was in Ice Song. So you may want to try talking to some of the refugees there.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, thanks. We were about to go talk to Huber Greyborn about the goblin, so I'll definitely ask him. Thanks, Pauline.
Nice.
How many zombie rats do you need?
As many as you can carry.
Why?
And she says, I've been working on a new spell to see if I can change zombie rats into regular rats.
Do I believe her?
Yeah. Yeah, she's telling the truth.
Okay.
You think you can bring them back to life? Amazing.
Will they smell just as bad?
And she says, well, you know, rats are very useful. When they're in their undead form, I have a hard time communicating with them and using them as messengers. But when they're alive, they're perfect for that. So I'm working on that. Plus, you never know if I make this spell work for rats. What's next? Maybe squirrels? Possibly a cat? A bat? Possibilities are endless.
Are there undead squirrels and cats and all of that and bats?
And she says, well, not at the moment, but I mean, if undead rats are possible, I suppose anything is.
This is true. Hmm. This is not good, but true.
And then she takes the hand that she's been handling the rats with, and she reaches over and takes some food off of a plate that has been left at the table and starts eating it.
Is that a good idea?
Well, nobody else was eating it. Seems fine to me.
No, with the not washing of the. I mean, it's undead rat. Are you not undead hand now? Is that not how that works?
Oh, no, I don't. I make sure it doesn't bite me. We're fine. We're fine. And then Kadra looks at her and says, we should probably be going. I would like to do one more thing for you, though. And she says, it's not much, but my family gave me an old donkey before I moved here to Tomar's Crossing. So Kadra hasn't lived here her whole life. She's actually a fairly new transplant, sort of within the last 5 years. And I've managed to get a cart from the carpenter Somoth Skull Cleaver. And yes, it's an unfortunate last name. And
Look,
she
we all have passed.
And some of them were more awesome than others, apparently.
she says, maybe you could use that if you find any of the supplies to transport.
Oh, thank you. That's a great idea, Kadra. We really appreciate it.
That's his name of donkey.
Oh, the donkey? I call him Andrew.
Andrew.
Mm-hmm. That's Andrew, Andru with an umlaut over it.
Okay. And what is name of cart?
She says, she like looks at you funny and then just says, you'll have to ask Summeth that.
Okay. And do you have bag to put zombie rats in?
And Palmine looks at you as they're getting up from the table and says, hey, just use your robes, dear. It'll be fine. And they walk out.
And Rock will, as they're walking out, will say, no, I've not put zombie rats in robe. I first off not have robe.
We can
Second
get a
off,
bag. I think we can get a bag.
You can? Okay.
I think we got something in the back from the
Yeah.
last potato shipment.
Did Isabel get any sense from Kadra that she was afraid more for the inconvenience of going up against Bajalian or for her safety in going up against Bajalian?
Ooh, make me an insight check.
I would love to do that. I would love to fail
Matchmaker.
at this. Oh, wait. I have, like, no wisdom. Oh, no. I got a nat 20!
Yay!
Drink
All
to
right.
that.
So, nat 20, we will note it down. That is one nat 20 so far. So that means at the end of the stream, we'll be giving away a copy of Cellar of Death right now. And Rudy, is the bot going?
Yeah, so, oh, wow. The bot just accidentally timeouted someone. Whoops. We'll have to fix that later.
Oh.
Sorry, Elwarius.
Oh, no.
If people type ! Enter, you will be entered into winning the PDF immediately. Yeah, no problem. Okay, cool. You're still yes. So exactly like a Thermit just did.
There you go.
! Enter. Exactly. Sarah, thank you. Just linked the PDF in chat.
Yes, it is. It's a adventure that can be used to start a Tomb of Annihilation campaign, or just any sad campaign you want to start. So So go ahead, and we will announce the winner at the end of the stream for that. Go ahead! ! Enter. Now for your 20, Isabel. You know that it looks like she's afraid to go up against Bajalian for her own safety, maybe. Or it looks like it is deeper than she's afraid of him. It's like he would do something to her if she went against him.
Do I know, having lived 2 years here, whether or not he has, like, I know you said he has a reputation for playing dirty. Has Isabel heard any rumors about, like, how dirty he can play?
There's certainly rumors that he has some sort of thugs on the payroll, that he's got thugs, and that he has spies that were in other settlements.
Okay.
So those are some of the rumors around town. There's also rumors that like he's definitely willing to blackmail people, and that there have been like village council members in the past who have had affairs exposed, or other scandalous secrets that they were like stealing from the town, and all of that has usually happened by Bajalin, and it's almost always happened after they have crossed Bajalin in some way, like not voting with the way he wants to vote, or that sort of thing.
Okay. So Isabel, I think with that knowledge and knowing Kadra and knowing what she knows about him, would probably in her mind make up, she would become like resolved to the fact that if she gets a reputation for helping Bajalin with people that he deems to be threats, that he could ask her for, he could determine new threats to ask her for her help with, then she will think very carefully on this.
Ooh, excellent. Nice. I love it. Nice. Okay, cool. So you all are making your way out of the tavern. Do you want to hang out? What are you doing?
I think we wanted to go, talk to the ICE refugees in Huberg Greyborn.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you exit the tavern, and obviously you settle everything up with your family, Torsten, to let them know you're heading out.
Sure.
Same thing with Rain. They let you know that they're going to put a different bouncer on the door, since you all have some better paying work to tend to. They totally understand, and there's plenty of people eager who can do the jobs. When you come out, there is a wooden cart waiting for you. And in that wooden cart is a half-orc who those of you who live in town know as the local carpenter, Somoth Skullcleaver, named as such because he was a member of the Safe Harbor Watch, and he once cleaved a person's skull in twain who was trying to get away with murder, literally. So he's there, and he's got like his arms spread. He's known as a boisterous, fun-loving kind of guy. And he sort of moved to Tomar's Crossing to retire. And he says, everybody, come on board. Andrew's eager to get going. And there is a like old as dirt donkey that is basically all skin and bones. And it looks very not eager to get going.
So, Matt, your donkey does not look eager to go. Maybe I'll just walk or fly along. I feel bad. Look.
That's okay. It gives him purpose. And he leans forward and he pats the donkey, and then he pulls a like a sugar cube out of his pocket and gives it to the donkey. I'll
fly. It's not, I feel bad. There's not much room in the cart. I need to stretch my wings anyway.
And as you're saying this, the sugar cube just kind of slides out of Andrew's mouth and falls onto the ground.
Do I think this donkey is undead?
No.
Okay.
Close.
Oh no.
He's mostly dead.
Yeah, Isabel will like artfully arrange herself against the cart, and like with her hair, she'll like mess with her hair a little bit and make sure her braid looks nice, and like all her red hair is like nice and curly. She'll just, Master Skullcleaver, I didn't see you there. It's a lovely day.
It's hard not to see him. He is very large. He's on top of her.
Thank you, Rock. Thank you for always pointing out the things that I could have easily said myself and didn't.
Okay, that's my job.
Thank you.
He says, hi, Isabel. How's it going?
It's going splendidly, but it would go so much more splendidly if we could get a hold of some horses. Do you know of anybody who might be willing to part with some for a fair price?
Make a persuasion check.
Oh man, and I'm proficient.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. 17.
Okay. He says, I actually hear those refugees that just came in from Ice Song. A couple of them had horses, and they're looking to part with them for some coin or the right price. That's where we're headed anyway. Pretty convenient, huh?
Yes, it is. It's incredibly convenient. And if you could just, I don't know, if you could get us any supplies, I have such a large journey ahead of me, and I don't know how long I'll be gone. I just, if I could get some supplies, if you know anybody who could have those ready for us by the time we're finished speaking with these refugees, I would be incredibly grateful.
And he says, "Well, yeah, of course, anything for you, Isabel."
Thank
And
you.
he like turns a little red in the cheeks, and he starts the cart moving with y'all in it, and then says, "Actually, I'm kind of hoping you could do something for me too."
Anything for you.
And he says, "Well, I'm just sick of the way Jalen runs this town, and I think it's time we get some new blood on the council. And you know, I've got experience. I was a leader in the town guard, so I'm gonna run myself. I'm gonna run for the village council, and well, I think that I could help you all out. There's a, you know, I couldn't help but overhear when my ear was to the door there that you were all making your way to Fort Frostfell, and well, I just you see, what I used to play there when I was a boy, and I happen to know there's a secret door on the south side.
Oh.
And he says, "Look for a red brick." And he like gives you a big old wink, and he says, "Now, if you could, you'll be successful. I'm sure you will, Isabel. And look at how strong all your friends are. This one's got wings. That's pretty crazy."
It's not crazy. Is just the way I was. It's physiology.
And he says, "I know, but bird people, it's not something we're used to around here. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to stare."
It's okay. I guess that's a lot.
And he says, "Are you smiling? Is that what you're doing right now?" It's
I'm trying.
but he says, "You know, if when you come back, if you were able to tell people that it was me who helped you out and made it possible for you to defeat the goblins, if you're lucky enough to do it, and I'm sure you will be, I would be very grateful. To the tune of my old suit of plate armor, I could give to you."
Wow.
Yeah. As Isabel will look at him and say, I will absolutely make sure that everybody knows just how much you helped us and how much you're helping Tomar's crossing by helping us.
Oh, and he like loves that, and says, "Oh, well, I suppose that's doable. I think that's something that we could make happen then. If you're agreed, then I'm agreed."
Sure. If it
Yes.
helps us get in there, that'd be fantastic.
You have helped us, and Palmine has helped us, and the other guy has helped us. So lots of people have helped us. We're gonna try to help everybody.
And he says, "I want to help everybody too. So we're of like mind that way." And takes you to the edge of camp. Now, as you're going through Tomar's Crossing, it was just a little village. It's very muddy right now. All of the liquid from the glacial melt is still in the ground. There's insects. There are flies buzzing around. There's mosquitoes buzzing around. And you can see there are people begging. And the further you get out of town, like towards the outskirts of town and everything, the more people you can see on the streets begging. You can see that there are tents people have set up among homes. There are some people are just sort of sleeping under canvases because that's all they were able to get their hands on, that sort of thing. You hear people coughing. You see people who are just in mud-stained clothes, and that's really all they have. Especially when you get to these camps that are outside of town. And you can see there is this group of people that have built tents. On one side, there are the refugees from Ice Song, who have just appeared in the last few days. Their camp is still pretty nice. They do have a few horses wandering around that they're feeding like muddy hay to, and there is some people sort of milling about, making fires, trying to cook what little food they have. On the other side of this are actually some weathered and muddy carnival tents. Rock, you know that anybody from your troop who has survived has set up on this sort of side of town. In fact, this may even be where Rock is staying, as far as I know. So yeah, you can see there are a couple of muddy, what would have been like very brilliantly colored, almost like circus tents, right? That are now mud stained and have holes in them, and you can see there are some people hanging out outside of those as well.
So, yeah, Rock would have most of her circus perished when the landslide happened, but she probably would have been able to rescue like someone, and then she ran into other refugees and maybe like a tent or two, and she would have been more than happy to like set up the tent as just a refugee home. Some of those tents, like 20-30 people can sleep in them, and I'd imagine she's only been in town a couple of days, so I think probably what she's been doing is doing a lot of like scouting the area, using what skills she got from when she was with her tribe to do some basic hunting, nothing elaborate or special. And so she probably hasn't really stayed here very much because it's kind of sad.
Sure.
Do they live in a circus tent?
Yeah. Well, and if you had ever asked, or if you had even like thought to ask, Rock would have told you her entire backstory. But yeah, she ran away with the circus, and when the disaster happened, her circus got destroyed.
Yeah,
and so most of
brightly colored circus tent in the middle of all this sadness.
Yep. Well, yeah, it's not so bright anymore just because of the mud and debris and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And yeah, like you said, a lot of those people are dead because they weren't able to fly. Rock had that advantage. And Rock, I would say, because of your sort of ability to approach people without fear of social repercussion, and also because of the fact that you are an Aarakocra, I think that you're maybe even becoming sort of a known quantity in town, even though you've only been there a few days. People know of like the weird but friendly Aarakocra, who might be too weird sometimes. So yeah.
Well, and I'd imagine the last couple of days, like she's given up the tent. She doesn't have really anything of her own anymore because she's more than happy to give to someone else who needs it more. So, people, she'll probably recognize a lot of these people, but just vaguely, and as people she's maybe just handed off stuff to, but she never kind of put together that these people were refugees who now she has to go talk to. So, but yeah, I'd imagine she's probably been avoiding it as much as possible because the tent probably brings up memories she doesn't, that are a little too fresh.
Oh,
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. So from the Ice Song side, you all can see the approach of Huberg Greyborn. Huberg Greyborn is a man in his 40s. Who comes by, and he's got tan skin, looks like he's been outside for a long time, and walks towards you and gives like a bow, and he's wearing armor, looks like sort of military dress, and he says, It's lovely to meet you. I'm Hubert Greyborn. He introduces himself. He helps each of you out of the wagon and walks with you to his tent, where there are a couple people sort of gathering supplies, getting ready. It seems like he's sharing everything he can with his people. And he tells you that that he's had some trouble on the road, and that they had some trouble since they've gotten here. He says a lot of the people of Tomar's Crossing, some of them are very generous, but some of them are less than happy to see us. Seems as the newest arrivals, they seem to think we're only here for food and nothing else. But my people can work. We are able to help provide. We're eager to do things, but it can be hard. It seems like people are less willing to part with what they have because they need it too.
Huberg, I'm Torsten, and you guys are welcome. I'm from this town, and all of the townsfolk here have always been welcoming to others. And it is now when things are tough is when it's kind of tough for everybody. But I think as long as you guys pull your weight, people will be happy to have you. The village master said that you guys had tried to take over the Frostfell Fort. Can you tell us what happened there?
Yeah, and he nods and he says, "Well, I'm the Barrel Harb goblins were always a joke. We figured it would be easy to take the fort from them, and we made a big mistake in that we went right up to the front gate. It's not just the goblins in there. They have organization. There's a woman, a human warrior, and they had a gnome wizard, and both of those two were organizing the goblins, but they were answering orders from a terrible creature, human-like in nature, but white skin the color of snow, with black hair and piercing red eyes, claws at the end of his hands, reeking of death. He had no nose. I don't know what this creature was, but he was smart, and he had great skill with the blade. On top of all this, the goblins were hurling bombs. And he sort of like looks at his hands like he almost can't believe what he's saying, and he can't face you when he's saying it, and he says, they lit our people on fire with bags. They threw these bags that exploded on impact, and the fire just wouldn't go out. It was terrifying. I have never seen goblins with such manner of weapons in war and organization. It was terrifying. And he says, I would be more than willing, if you are going back there, to provide you with anything I can to help you. I have 3 horses that I can spare. The rest were taken by the Barrel Harbs. My people were going to butcher and eat them, but if you need them for the journey, I am more than happy to provide them.
Well, we could definitely use them. We have a wagon. Any of the supplies that they took from you and your people and anyone else, we will bring back to share with the town, of course.
This monster he's describing, can I make a check to try and figure out what it is?
Yeah, anybody can. Yeah, anybody could make a religion check.
2. I don't know what it is, but I know that I want to fight it because it sounds scary and awesome to fight, and that's what I want, is to punch it in the face.
I got a 17.
Rock got a 12.
Isabel also got a 12.
Okay. With a 17, it's a white, Torsten.
I know it.
So a white is a terrible creature that is undead. They're intelligent, and they have the ability to sap energy with a touch from someone, to the point where it could kill them. They can absorb so much energy.
Don't let them touch you.
I'm too fast. It's not going to touch me. It's just going to get its head punched off. I don't mind walking around with that head around town.
Yeah. Whites, they are horrible creatures. They're not alive. They cannot use. I've heard that they are intelligent, but.
Was the white leading, or was the gnome leading? Who exactly was the leader? If he had to choose.
He says the white was
the. White
the.
was leading. Okay.
Yes, that's what it's called, a white? Is that right? Yeah, it's a white. It was the white. It seemed like they were leading. The woman was very capable with her axe, and the gnome was certainly skilled in magic, but neither could compare to the skill of the white.
Rain said that the goblins used to have a boss named Dowerkeg, a hobgoblin. Did you see him?
And he sort of scratches his head and he's like, I didn't see a hobgoblin, though I have heard tell of Dowerkeg. Others have claimed to have seen him on the road, but I don't know. Perhaps he was hanging back and not on the walls. We never got past the front gate, so.
Are goblins usually working with such horrible creatures?
Not in my experience.
But they follow this thing. They follow this Vite.
Yeah, he sort of nods gravely at that. And Robert, you would know that to even create a white, one needs to be a powerful necromancer, not something known among goblins.
Did they seem entranced or charmed at all, or did they seem like normal goblins?
They seemed like normal goblins, but they were kept in line by the strong hand of their leaders. If one stepped out of line, well, they were hurled from the wall. And that got most of the other ones to stand in line right fast.
But how many goblins did you see up there?
I'd say that there were 8 on the walls. Like I said, we very well announced our presence. They knew we were coming.
We should not announce. There's so many. We should be very careful.
He nods and says, I would agree with that statement. Thought the direct approach would be the best way to get some shelter for me and my people.
How many did you go with? How much did you attack with?
So he motions to sort of the camp, and there's probably, looks like there's maybe a dozen people in the camp with him. And he says, most of the people here, those who weren't able to fight, continued on, and we met up with them on the road. Probably about double the number as well. They now lie dead outside the gates, unless they were brought inside for some reason, though I doubt the goblins would have any respect.
Well, we will do what we can with any dead we find, of course.
Nods.
Is there anything else you can think of that could help us?
And he says, there is one other thing. I did not see this myself, but some claim that while we were on the road, they saw a large shape, larger than you, and he points to Rock, flying through the air.
I would like to remind everybody that Rock is only like 5 feet tall.
Yeah.
And weighs like 100 pounds.
So he is saying this because he's talking about a creature that was witnessed flying through the air.
Okay.
So that's why he picked Rock specifically, and he says much larger than an Aarakocra. It was some say wyvern, dragon. White dragons is not uncommon in these parts, but it's been a long time since any have truly attacked the region. But they may have a dragon, so be careful. And it gives a thumbs up.
If
Cool,
they have
thanks.
dragon, then this is not a good idea at all. If I
You're right.
Well,
we should
they-
ask for more gold.
we should ask for more people. We should ask for dragon slayers. Do you not have here? Dragon is not to be light with.
I'll
Where did they
put
see
dragon.
this creature?
He says, I didn't personally see any dragon, and they could have easily brought out a dragon to lay waste to us, which would have done us in even faster if that were the case. But I suppose they didn't need to.
They said they saw it flying over the keep or the fort.
Towards in the direction of Fort Frostvale.
Before, after, during the fight.
It was before the fight when some of the people that were on watch when they were sleeping one night thought they saw it in the sky.
I don't think that that necessarily says there's a dragon or something there. So I mean, something to think about, but I don't necessarily think it's something to sway us. We need to get those people out of there and those supplies for the other people here, even if there is something like that there.
He nods and he says, I think it's worth the risk. But then again, it failed for me. And maybe I just am desperate to see someone succeed where I failed.
Well, we heard of another way in, so hopefully we won't need to go into the front door.
So he nods. And he says, well, the horses are yours. And their names are...
It's as if you knew what Drock was about to ask.
Yeah, their names are Sparkle, Twilight, and Dusk.
Oh.
A theme. I like that.
It says, yeah, I'm a big fan of the novels. It's real good.
We will leave Andrew here to rest in peace, as he is already mostly dead.
And he parts the tent and looks outside, and then comes back and is like, too skinny to eat, but we'll take him.
Oh, don't eat Andrew.
Why not? At least there will be something. It's just practical.
Bone marrow's good cooking, so that's at least stock.
Exactly.
Do any of you have anything you want to do before heading out to Fort Frostfell?
So it's 18 miles to the west with 3 horses and a cart. How long is it going to take to get there? Do we want to wait for morning?
Yeah, that's up to you. You can certainly wait until morning. You would probably, if you left now, like with the mud and the slow going and stuff, it would probably take you about, 10 hours to get there. So it would just be morning as you were getting there if you traveled through the night. Or you could, wait until get some rest, wait until the morning, and then travel, and you would get there at night. So it really depends around when you would want to arrive at Fort Frostville.
How cold is it overnight?
Oh, that's a good question.
Like, do we want to camp and sleep, or do we want to sleep in houses?
So it's actually there's still this weird unnatural heat that melted the glacier is still coming on. So it's like summer. It's very hot during the day and it's hot at night. Which is a problem because most people only have winter clothes, So it doesn't get super cold or anything.
Are animals more aggressive because of, I don't know, the less prey or anything, wild animals or anything like that?
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, let's wait until tomorrow, I think, and
Yeah, I'd rather travel during the light.
Mm.
And it might be best to try to sneak into this place when it is dark. So
that's
for
what I was thinking
arriving,
too. Is like
Yeah.
stealthy approach might be best, at least initially.
yeah, get a good night's sleep, leave early in the morning, get there at dusk, scope it out, and try to find this red brick.
Isabel, I think, would sit next to Torsten and try to ask him questions about this white. Like, does he know when the white is most active? Like, when most undeads like whites would be most active? Things like that. Just try and, like, get an idea. Because he's the only one out of the group that would have any knowledge for that. And, like, she's now in guard mode where she's like, you know, what... You've lived here the longest, you know probably the most about the fort as well. Do they need sleep? Can they see in the dark?
I'm not while I have some knowledge. We should go talk to Isparel. He's the local priest of Eldath. He may know more. So before we leave tomorrow, let's go and talk to Isparel.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Does Isabel get the sense that a white is similar to the zombie rats? Does she know that it would be undead with a 12 for religion?
Yeah, you would know. So when the name white is said, you know that they're undead, and that they have a greater consciousness, sapience, if you will, where zombies really don't. So yeah, so they not only do they have that, they wouldn't need to sleep as undead. That's sort of like a general thing. Most undead don't have the need for sleep and can see in the dark. So yeah. So you would definitely know that off the bat. But you could go talk to Isparel.
Yeah, she would agree to go to the church.
Okay.
And,
Do we want to do that now, or do we want to wait for the morning? I mean, is there still what time is it? Where are we at in the day?
So we started around early evening. We'll say like it's probably like 8, 9 o'clock now. The sun's fully down now, and you know people are winding up to go to bed.
We could probably do it in the morning then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. So everybody goes sort of to their respective places to rest. Where is everybody staying? Isabel, you have your own place, right? That you got.
Yeah, she has a townhouse, and she would actually invite Rock to return back to the townhouse with her. Just because, like, she would look at Rock and like look at the refugee camp and just, Rock, I'm gonna be honest, this is the saddest place I've ever seen. Do you want to sleep? Do you want to sleep inside of a house tonight? I have cocoa.
Oh, I don't know what that is. What is that?
I don't know. I made it up.
Okay. There would be like this weird, guilty hesitation as she's looking over at the dirty tent, knowing that it's full of refugees. And the couple times that she slept there, it's not that she's not comfortable there physically. It's that, you know, she's surrounded by people she doesn't know instead of her family. And so she'd like look over at the tent and look over you and go, okay, let's make up cocoa, and she'll follow you.
Yeah.
Nice. And where is Rain staying?
Above the local martial arts gym that's in town, because every town has one of those.
Okay, and what is this martial arts gym called?
Punch and Kickatorium. The Punch and Kickatorium.
Right, of course.
Ye old Punch and Kickatorium.
There you go.
It's the Punch and Kickatorium 2, though, because there used to be one over in Safe Harbor. They've franchised out.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, you're able to stay there. Probably you get away with staying there by like giving some lessons for free.
Cleaning the mats, teaching boxer size on the weekends, stuff like that.
Boxer size. Oh, that's awesome. And Robert, does Torsten stay at the Ale House Inn?
Yeah, I mean they probably have maybe a house out back or something, or he still lives with the parents and his brothers and sister.
Sure. So all of you kind of go to your places and get a good night's sleep. The next morning, you're getting ready to hooking up the wagons and stuff. And Isperl has been sent for. He comes and gives a bow. And Isperl is a person sort of middle-aged. He's got a bit of a paunch, and he looks very, very tired when he comes your way. Immediately behind him, on the heels, is a half-orc who is walking with a small baby who looks to be about a year old in his arms. You recognize these people immediately, Isabel. It is your son, Baratus, and your grandson, who he told you when he told you that he was getting ready to start his family. He was like, I need you to get out of my house because the baby needs your room, right?
It's true.
And so he is on his way to make a visit to you as this is all happening.
Cheek pinching ready. Got my cheek pinching fingers ready.
Yeah, and you can as soon as the baby sees you, you can see the baby recognizes Isabel and starts to shake with excitement in his father's arms as he comes over and even reaches out with his hands like he wants to go to you. And yeah. So he goes over and your son Bertus says, can I talk with you for a moment, Mom?
Of course you can, son. Anytime. And she'll take the baby and she's wiping at his face and everything and wiping it onto Baratus's cloak, as absent-mindedly, licking her thumb, scratching the baby's face, and then wiping it on her son's shoulder. She's, what do you need, dear? Anything for you, anything.
And he says, word travels pretty fast around here. Small town. Somebody said you're going back to work. That you're going to be making your way into a tribe of dangerous goblins. I mean, I know I don't have my ear to the ground the way you do, Mom, but really, you said it to some of Skullcleaver, and now the whole freaking town knows.
Oh, he's so sweet. What do you think of him? Do you think your father would have liked him? Oh, he's so sweet. So handsome, too. Did you see his biceps? Ugh, what a handsome man.
Mom.
Have you been eating enough? What?
This is dangerous. You're a grandma now. You can't be going out there and
I'm certainly not taking the baby with me. That would be absurd. It would be absurd to take you. Yes. Oh, but you'd be so fierce.
The baby laughs. And he says, Mom, I just, look, I know that we asked you to leave when we were going to have him, and it's, I get it. I told you we needed space and everything, but for you to take up your old career again, it's, it's dangerous out there now, Mom. It's not like on the town guard. I don't know. I don't think you're ready for this.
Oh, so what you're saying is that you could fight me right now and you would win. That's what you're saying.
No.
You're saying that you could fight me right now and you would win, right? I would lose because I'm a frail old woman. That's what you're saying.
No, we're not going to do the I'm going to fight you thing. Listen,
you're right,
Mom.
You're not, because I would win.
And as you're saying that, he absent-mindedly rubs his shoulder, probably from a time he tried to take you up on that offer, and you put him through a door or something.
Yeah.
And he says, I just want you to be careful. And he reaches into he's got a belt pouch, and he pulls out 2 potions, and he says, look, this is, if you're in real trouble and you don't think you're going to be able to get out of it, these are going to help you out, and these are going to make sure that you come back home safe, okay? If you're insistent on going, please take these, and they are potions of invulnerability.
Ooh.
Oh, damn. You raised your son right.
Yes.
Holy mackerel.
Just gotta whoop him around a couple. No, that's
Yeah.
terrible. Don't take
No.
parenting advice from me yet. Kat, listen to me right now. I am not qualified to give you parenting advice. Do not whoop your children, or do whatever. I'm not your dad. Anyway, don't take parenting advice from me. Yeah. So she'll just like sort of like take. Oh, you are so sweet. You were just so sweet. Your father would have been so proud. You look just like him. You're so handsome. And then she'll like scrape like some more drool and stuff off of her grandson and like hand him back over. And once her son's hands are full of grandson, she'll wipe both of her hands on his cloak again. And then she'll just like give him like a little like as like uncomfortable for him a hug as possible, and just sort of like, oh, and like crack his back a little bit in it.
Yeah, and there's like like he gives a grunt and then embraces you back.
Yeah. Give Claudia my love.
And he says, I will. And you would actually know that she's an apothecary, and she likely made these potions, which would be very costly. The ingredients and stuff for them are she's probably out of whatever she used to make these potions.
Yeah.
And that, maybe that caused some consternation between them. Who knows? Maybe we'll see later.
I and Claudia have never actually gotten along, but like Isabel, knowing how like serious he is being in this moment, she won't mention that she thinks that Claudia needs to be paid more so that she can actually afford the ingredients that she's wasting for no reason. But she's not going to say it. She's just going to think it like really loudly.
Yeah, and you have that like silent family conversation, right? Where he like, you give that look and he gives a look back that's like, Mom, be nice,
Yeah, it's more like, give Claudia my love.
Does Rock totally get all those looks? Like, she's been watching this whole thing. Does she notice?
Oh yeah,
probably.
Rock gets the whole unspoken conversation about Claudia for sure.
Okay. She'll make a mental note of that, but she knows enough about this being a family moment to not actually interrupt, but that'll be a moment for later.
And Beritus takes the baby's arm and he's like, say bye-bye, say bye-bye.
And like the baby will like wave, but when Beritus looks down, he'll see that the baby's cheeks are like completely full of candy.
Mom!
Okay, I have to go. Goodbye. I'm busy.
And you come over and Isperil is there and says, such wonderful things to see, so wonderful. Your blessed family, blessings of Eldeth on you. And I don't know why I made the sign of the cross, but so Eldeth and sort of gives a blessing, and he says, now I hear that you're all out on your way to battle some goblins. I was wondering, how might I be of service of blessing, perhaps?
Oh, that would be fantastic, Isperil. We were curious. We've heard that there was an undead creature leading these goblins, a wight from the descriptions. We wanted to know if you had any advice you would give us about such things.
And he pauses for a moment and says, "Oh, a wight." And he said, "My advice would be, if you can, see if you can attack them from a range. Their touch is murder.
No
quite literal.
Can do.
Rock will pull out her bow and look over at Rain and say, I can help with that. I can do that. You take care of goblin things. I will attack from way up there.
No can do. I gotta fight this thing.
When you do that, Isperil says, actually, and reaches into a pack that he has, unslings the pack off his back and pulls 5 silvered arrows out of it and hands them to you, Rock. And he says, silver, very effective, in the sense that regular steel is not so effective against whites.
Can I line my sword with holy water or something? Is there any way for me to be effective against the white?
And he says, I mean, it won't. Essentially, we're talking about damage resistance, not immunity.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to find a way
So
around
he says, I don't know, maybe put some silver coins between your knuckles and pray to Eldeth that it all goes well.
it. Okay.
Is that good advice? I don't know. Probably not. And then says one other thing. They hate sunlight. If you can get a white in the sun, that's a good thing. So he's and then he says blessings of Eldeth on you, and sort of gives you each a little blessing and says, is there anything else?
No, thank you, Espero.
He nods and makes his way down the mountain, or not the mountain, down the path. And yeah, so that is the information he's able to provide for you. Is there anything else you want to do before you hit the road?
Get some silver coins.
That's easy. If you have any gold, you're able to easily convert it to silver, as a 1-to-10 ratio.
Sure. It's probably, we can't smelt them into brass knuckles. We gotta get going. Or silver knuckles.
Right.
Right.
We
Keep
can
in
look
mind
at
in
that
the
for
future.
later.
Yeah.
Next time.
That's true.
I'm just writing down that I have 5 silver arrows, and I'm super excited.
Excellent.
Rock is looking over each arrow, like studying how well they're balanced, like making tiny little adjustments for her own bow, and then putting them in her quiver in like a special compartment. She's super excited.
And you can tell they're really well made. These are not only are the arrows silvered, like some master craftsman has really put fletching into these arrows, and each little arrowhead is carved with the symbol of Eldeth on it. Which is. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Lamar.
I was just gonna say, what is that, and how much do I know about this god? As Rock probably has only ever heard of this god coming into this town.
Yeah, so Eldeth, their symbol is a waterfall, like falling off of a cliff. So it's this is because it's carved in as sort of a more line representation of it, of this beautiful waterfall falling. A lot of people who worship Eldeth are people who revere nature, people who reveal healing. They're essentially the god of peace in the Forgotten Realms. And often represented as like a spirit of lakes and rivers and peaceful bodies of water. So that's what you would know about Eldeth, and is a pacifist. Preaches sort of pacifism as much as you can, that sort of thing.
There will be a moment where she'll look over at the rest of the crew with these arrows, knowing what she knows about this god, and say, "Will they be upset that I am shooting things with this? Is that bad?"
I think Eldath reveres life more than she's worried about some undead thing no longer being part of this world.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, that is likely why the weapons are silver, right? Because there are a lot of things that are hurt by silver, like undead and devils and things. It can't necessarily always be reasoned with, and so that sort of explains where the silver is coming from.
Are the shafts made of silver too, or just the arrowheads?
Just the heads. Just the heads. And the heads are silvered, so essentially they're steel that is then sort of gilded.
Coated, yeah. Otherwise it'd be too
silver.
soft. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like if you were gonna make silver brass knuckles, you would probably want brass knuckles that you would then cover in silver, because otherwise you would smash the silver eventually. So yeah. So you all are able to then head out on your way. You leave town, and again, you see more of the same things: hot, sun beating down, insects coming out, mud, and all sorts of gross puddles and things like that from the glacier are around. As you make your way towards Fort Frostfell, which you can see in the distance, there are all manner of dead animals on the side of the road that look like they've died from starvation or thirst. You pass a whole herd of dead musk ox that have essentially overheated because they're meant to handle the cold. You pass a polar bear that has overheated and died on your way. And you also notice the entire valley has changed. Things are really different because this glacier was covering the land, right? And things have now shifted and moved. And so where you might have expected certain structures to be, they are no longer there, or they're crushed, or they're gone. Things like that are totally washed away. And there are new things. You're seeing sometimes way off in the distance, like around the wall of the mountain, which you can see much clearer and further now because you're sort of on a big mud plain in this valley. You can see there are holes in the ground, like big old sinkholes that could lead to places. You might even see another building off in the distance that you've never seen before, that sort of thing. And you also pass by on the road abandoned wagons, horses that have died, the occasional body of a humanoid that is also there. So it's a long and depressing sort of 10-hour journey to get to Fort Frostfell. When you approach Fort Frostfell, you can see it's high up on this mesa that has these mud slick walls on it, and there's sort of only one big switchback up this mesa that leads to a fort that is sitting there like a big stone brick. And as you can see, it's starting to get towards dusk now. The sun is just starting to set. What would you all like to do?
Park the horses somewhere, I guess.
Sure. Yeah, you're able to park them easily.
Camouflage them or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple of boulders, and there's mounds of mud and stuff that have been pushed together by the melt. So yeah, you're very easily able to find a place out of sight to put the cart and the horses.
While this is happening, Rock would find a pretty tall tree that she could go perch in, something that would give her some cover. And while there's still a lot of light out, just study this fort. Can she see any movement along the edges or along the outside? Can she see where she thinks this secret backdoor entrance might be? I'm assuming she can't see the red brick from here, but maybe if I was to put a secret entrance, I'd put it here, that kind of thing.
Sure, yeah, make a perception check.
Sure. Not the best. 14.
Okay. Well, there's some things you're able to notice right away. The first is that you can see there is definitely a front gate, and there are two towers on either side of this, one tower each on either side of this front gate. And each tower has what you can see are four little figures moving around in it. Look to be goblins that are moving around. You can also see while you are watching that it looks like there is some smoke sort of rising out of the center of the fort, like somebody's got a little cook fire. It's not like a raging inferno or anything like that. At this distance, you don't think you're able to see a door, but if you were, from the description, it sounds like it's on the opposite side of the front gate here. However, on the switchback, you can also see that there are a bunch of bodies, humanoid bodies again, that have been placed along the switchback. What you notice is that they are within bow range, these bodies.
Okay.
And they look like they were strategically placed where they are. And it looks like the gate has a little damage. So I'm sorry.
So the bodies were placed to be like blocking any attempts to shoot?
No, they're just like evenly spaced along the switchback on their way up. Like they start within the furthest kind of short bow range and then make their way like every 20 feet or so. There's another body.
Okay.
It's a little too perfect for it to just be normal carnage and mayhem.
Okay. And do the bodies, they probably humanoid, probably some of the people who were some of the guards that attacked
Definitely.
before? Okay.
Yeah, they look fresh. Yeah. Everybody go ahead and make me a perception check.
Do you want me to make another one?
Yeah.
Oh no.
10.
Oh
Yeah.
jeez.
10 as well.
I got 9. This one isn't as good. I'm distracted by what I'm looking at these bodies.
12.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So-
not a great day.
You all are thoroughly distracted and checking out the fort. When all of a sudden you hear one of the horses whinny, and that whinny is cut short, and you turn around, and there is a horse-sized white dragon who has the head of Sparkle buried in his throat.
Aw.
Sparkle, no!
Thank goodness it's not dusk.
It's
That's
not dusk. That's what I was thinking too. All
That's
right.
man, I
This
was
could
like,
be
oh,
worse. This
I was
could
like,
be worse.
And that is where we will end for the first session of the Demon Plague.
Yay!
dragon.
I don't know why you're yaying.
Level
The
one.
Sparkle's been eaten by a white dragon.
The first and last session of the Demon
I know,
Plague.
like if you want to cancel the show, just like tell me right now. A dragon, we're level 1. I have 12 hit points.
It does appear to be a small for a dragon. Dragon.
Hopefully a wormling, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
strong enough to kill a horse, just and
Yeah.
knock its head off. So
I would like to say that just in that last moment before we fade out, that in Draconic, Rock is gonna yell out, "No, this is ours! Leave Sparkle alone!"
Excellent. I'm gonna make a note of that.
All right, that's what she would do from up in the tree. Be like, "Hey!"
Excellent. So,
Nice.
let's before we go here, first we need to award a copy of Cellar of Death because we had a natural 20 rolled. So Rudy, I do not know how the bot works.
Yes, so let's just one more time. Anyone who wants to get in the running, it's our first session. So type !enter like this. I'm doing now in the chat. And you will be entered to win because only a few people did it before. So
There you go.
Your last
you can-
chance.
Win a free copy of the platinum selling
Platinum
Cellar
selling.
of Death.
Nice.
Nice.
See
So
where, one of my characters died somewhere in there.
really? That's
Yeah, yeah.
awesome.
During you were running it, yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Winter
Yeah.
Fantasy, I think, yeah.
That was like a big 9-person game.
Yeah, it was.
So you can win a copy of my one-shot adventure Cellar of Death that can also be used as a Kickstarter or supplement to Tomb of Annihilation. It's on the DM's Guild, so we'll get your email address if you win, and I will send you a copy. We're going to do that whenever somebody wins, rolls a natural 20. We'll give away a copy of something fun on the DM's Guild.
Yep.
Cool.
all right,
So
here we go. We're gonna roll it.
here we go. Here it comes. Boom.
Congratulations, Aether Mitch. You have won the giveaway.
Hey.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Aether Mitch, please get in touch with us and let us know
you can
your...
DM us on Twitch, and
Yeah,
from
DM
there
us
we
on-
can give you DM us your email. Oh man, the
Yeah.
stream is okay. Cool. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Excellent. And then I think before we go, let's go around the table and say where people can find you. Rudy, where can people find you?
Hey, I'm on Twitter at Rudy Basso, and then you can listen to Have Some Local Travel again before it ends, which is very soon. And yeah. Oh, hey, tomorrow at 8 o'clock on this channel, I run a Star Wars Edge of Empire game, which is the Star Wars Fantasy Flight RPG. James is normally in it. He can't make it tomorrow, but we're still going to roll it. It's me and my younger brother Alex and a couple other friends of mine from home. 2 Andrews, spelled normally, not like
Now with the
Andrew
new
the
mount.
donkey, not like Andrew the donkey. And it's a lot of fun. It's scum and villainy kind of adventures. Not no Jedi to be seen here, only Han Solo types. And
Really
yeah,
fun
that's it.
stuff.
This will be coming out as a podcast sometime soon in the future. A date to be determined, but we'll see.
Exactly. And if you like that, after that game, The Venture Maidens, which is another actual play D&D podcast that features no dudes and a great cast of non-dude players, is also on the network. And they'll be playing after that Edge of the Empire game, so check them out as well. Yeah, totally. Where can people find you, Lauren?
People can find me on Twitter at OboCrazy. You can also find me at my website, obocrazy.com, because I have a brand. You can also find me on, if you're watching on the Dungeons and Dragons channel from Wizards of the Coast, you can find me on this channel tomorrow. Forgot what day it was for a second. Yes, tomorrow, Wednesday at 2:00 Pacific, where I'll be running Clerical Error for my friends in the Dung Sweepers Guild. You can also find me as the DM of the Dungeon Drunks podcast, which comes out every Monday. And if you are listening to the podcasts of Waterdeep, which is happening on the Dungeon Delve feed right now, you can not only hear the Dungeon Drunks episode, you can also hear the Venture Maidens episode, who are friends of ours, and we love them very much. So that's where you can find me. And you can also find me helping out with D&D Beyond. And now you have the theme song in your head, and you're welcome.
And Robert, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Raddu76. It's RADDU76. In the big D&D 5th edition Facebook group, an admin there, and at athos.org.
Excellent, excellent. And you can find me in all of the same places. You can find Rudy, and you can also follow my game design exploits at worldbuilderblog.com, and I'm on Twitter at James Introcaso, which is my name. And if you're interested in pre-ordering the Demonplague, I just dropped the link in the chat. It's roleplayingtips.com/Demonplague. Thank you all so much for watching, and thank you all so much for playing.
Did we miss TK?
Oh, TK! Oh my gosh!
Did
I'm
we
so
totally-
sorry.
It's fine. I'm cool with it.
I'm not.
Oh, my
not
bad.
cool. TK.
Oh, sorry. I was like, bye. We'll see you guys later.
TK, thank you, Lauren. TK, where can people find you?
You can find me tomorrow and Thursday on the WebDM network for their Twitch, playing either Invisible Sun or Dark Sun. You can find me on the D&D Twitch, playing Hell's Bells, which is an all-tiefling campaign. Very fun. And that's pretty much it. If you like spooky stories, check out my website, tkjwrites.com. Check me out on Twitter, TK Joins the Fray. That's it. I'm done.
That's awesome. TK, Hell's Bells is amazing. People should definitely check that out. It is
Absolutely.
super fun. Yeah,
My prince boy.
I love Gil. Well, I am sorry about that. It won't happen again. TK, you get free inspiration whenever you want it. And we will see everybody next week. Don't let the demons bite.
Oh,
Bye.
bye.
Bye.